This week's guest is my good friend, Lisa Bilyeu. Lisa Bilyeu is the co-founder and president of Impact Theory, a media company focused on empowering content. In addition to co-founding Impact Theory, she co-founded the billion-dollar brand Quest Nutrition 8 years ago. Lisa's career trajectory has been an astonishing arc from housewife to entrepreneur to transforming her business focus from nutrition to entertainment media. Lisa now hosts the show Women of Impact that centers on female empowerment, as well as another show, Relationship Theory, with her husband and business partner, Tom Bilyeu, in which they discuss relationships, business, and how to manage both. Lisa, so happy to have you on here with me today. How are you?
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be on here. I freaking adore you girls. Any excuse to hang is amazing.
I know. I feel the exact same way. Now, obviously, Lisa, you're such a female force. You are like this big, bright, actually little. You're this little tiny bite-sized bright light on Instagram, on YouTube, and really the world. And I'm just so happy that I found you, that I stumbled across you in life, that our paths made up. And no kidding, like I repost your stuff almost on, like I at least read it and seek inspiration from it on the daily. And I repost a lot of it because there's just so much about you that I admire. Like so much. I mean, for starters, I love the working relationship that you have with your husband Tom. He was another amazing powerhouse in this world. And that's a topic I'm going to dive into in just a little bit. But first, I kind of want to let all of the listeners and the viewers know how we met, because seeing our relationship and how we are, I would think you and I were best buddies first. But the reality is, I met Tom, it must have been 7 or 8 years ago. It was a long time ago. A really long time ago. Actually, my business manager had connected me and Chris with Tom. And some other people. We were at the time working on something with Quest, which obviously you guys co-founded. And I remember sitting in the room with Tom and just being like blown away by who he was, right? Just he's this powerful person. But what goes to my mind first when I see a powerful man is, behind every powerful man is a very powerful woman. And so I'm not kidding you, from that day moving forward, I wanted to know the female force that he had behind him, because it takes a strong woman and a confident woman to empower and uplift and let a man kind of reach for his dreams the way that I saw, even without knowing you, I saw you allowing Tom to do. And it was something like I really wanted to meet you. And thank goodness for Instagram.
Well, can I just chime in, because that's so interesting. We've never really told each other these stories before.
No,
so this is fascinating.
This is the first.
Because on the flip side, I want to say how I had. So I was a massive fan of Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition. So this was actually before we even started Quest. I think that was on the show. So I was a massive fan. And obviously, I think it was like the first season. It was just Chris. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I remember watching it and seeing him and thinking the opposite, and thinking for him to be such a dominant force, he must have this super, demure wife who is just like, and this is a great example. First of all, before I had the growth mindset. So understand where I was coming from. At the time, I was a stay-at-home wife. We hadn't started Quest yet. So my husband went out, and I was this super like, stay at home, look after my husband, because I was brought up very traditional Greek. So I went into that palace. So when I saw Chris on TV, I thought that he would have someone at reflection on me, thinking, my husband is very dominant, very, has a lot of energy. And so I'm that kind of quiet person in the background. And so when I saw Chris, I thought that would be you. And then I saw you, and I was like, oh my God, this chick, like, first of all, her freaking arm, let's just stop there for a second, record scratch, right? Like, those arms were amazing, and you held your own. Now, this is before I've gone through my own growth. So understand, when I saw you and I saw this super, like, dominant woman who wasn't afraid to talk her mind, but had utter respect for her husband and had this love for him. Like, I was so shocked when I actually saw you. So it's so interesting to see how you thought of me one way and I thought of you as the other.
It actually is, and I think it's because it's because we both came from the opposite background. Like you say, you were at home and you knew the dominant, powerful husband that you had, being a stay-at-home mom. I knew the partnership that Chris and I had, and I thought, "Okay, I know Chris is able to be Chris, not because of me, but in part because of what I lend to the equation." So I just assumed that every powerful man had a woman that was behind him
Mm.
lifting him up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
And,
did. There's this scene in My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which I
yeah,
love because it's a Greek woman that says, "The man is the head, but the woman is the neck, and the neck." Like basically whole, I was going to keep doing the Greek accent, but the basically neck is the foundation, right?
yeah,
And it's like it's so true that behind every successful person, I think you do need that solid foundation. And there's something like
yes,
statistics. If you look at all like extremely successful people, like next level extreme, they
yep.
all have a solid home base.
That makes sense, and I love that you say that. I believe that wholeheartedly. I feel like it's easy, especially as we're hustling, to get caught in this mindset that home is taking up time, family's taking up time. I need to hustle, 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 and almost put that stuff aside in an effort to get to where you want to go. But at the end of the day, I also feel like that pulls away from your why. And like, why are you doing this in the first place? Like, what are you? And if when you don't have that solid foundation, that support in some way, I agree. At some point, you crumble. So I love that you
And
say that.
you're less likely to take risks,
Yeah.
right? So think about if your home life is unstable
Yeah.
and financially, in your romantic relationship with
Yes.
your partner, like
Yes.
everything. If that's not strong, the second you
Yeah.
take a risk, it risks everything, right? If we had started Quest and it didn't work, Tom and I would have gone, okay, well, we gave it a try and now let's move on. Like we started four or
Because you
five
have each
other
other.
companies. Exactly. So
Yeah.
before we even started Quest, we had like 4 or 5 other companies that we started and they failed, like
Wow.
miserably
Wow.
failed. So, but it didn't crumble, like because the foundation was solid because we were both there to, support each other.
I love what you're saying, and I'm totally going off of what I was going to talk about, but I think it's really important because what you say speaks so directly to where I'm at in my life right now because I believe everything you say. Obviously, you have an idea. Chris and I are separating, right? And you and I
Yeah.
had conversation about it.
Actually, wasn't sure if
Um,
you were public about that or
yeah,
not, but
yeah, we posted. The world knows now.
okay.
But what's interesting to me is I find so this is my second divorce. My first husband's right here. Do you know that the one you've been talking to is my first husband?
No way!
Yes.
Oh
Yes,
my God!
Derek. He and
Can I
I
just
work
say,
together.
can I say that's such a testament to both of you as individual humans? The fact that you can work together, that is such I mean, just freaking applause
Thank
to
you.
that because I think that it shows that you also had other connections versus just that, being married. So the fact that you guys can work together is just freaking amazing.
And we work together better now than we ever could have in the
Mm,
past. And I think a lot of it is understanding the importance of the foundation. But yeah, it is. I remember going through it with Derek, and what that when that foundation's gone, it is scary. With Chris and myself, same thing. We had about 10, you know, irons in the fire, me and Chris together.
mm-hmm.
And where I'm at now in my life, it's scary. Like those same irons that I was totally okay having in the fire before, suddenly I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, wait. So if I'm alone, can I actually still do it? It's just a really crazy identity thing. So it is true. Having a
Do you have an
half,
iron in mind?
what was that?
Do you have an iron in mind that you're
Um,
saying is now scary? I'm so curious.
well, honest to goodness, even this. So this podcast, right? Doing this thing that I'm doing now. It's like if when I even though Chris didn't participate at all in what I was doing, because we gave each other space. He had his stuff, I had my stuff. Just the fact of like the idea of not having the partner there
Mm-hmm.
just to go home to and
Yeah.
have someone support you is really scary. And I have to say, having Derek help me with this has actually helped that big time. Just knowing that somebody who cares about me and my life and my well-being and my kids who are also his kids. That's huge. And I can see how for you and Tom, that stability and that knowing that you both have the same priorities is so massive in what you guys reach for and you achieve. And you're like, hey, if we fall, we both fall together. So we're going to get back
Yeah.
up and we're going to enjoy the ride. I love that. And I completely admire that.
It's one of these, thank you so much. It's definitely difficult though, in the sense that we make sure that it's like we lean all the way in and make sure we don't lean in at all. And what I mean by that is, like with you right now, right? You're like, I'm doing a podcast, like, Chris isn't around. When you are in a relationship and you're with somebody for so long, like Tom and I have been together for 19 years. So I was
Wow.
21 when I met him. And so
Wow.
I was very young. And when you're with each other for that long, especially from a young age, you do intertwine. And I love that. I love that we've kind of got our, we're really immersed in each other. The problem is that you need to make sure that you don't lose touch of who you are as an individual.
Yeah.
Because that can cross a line. And a perfect example, I know you know a lot about my health issues. So, I think your audience probably is on that health trip, so they may be able to relate. But been with my husband for a very long time. About 2 years ago, I've had massive gut issues, like massive gut issues. And about 2 years ago, I had a photo shoot. And in that photo shoot, I'm in the middle of it, and all of a sudden I get massive cramps to the point where I'm like, I had to excuse myself. I didn't tell anyone. We've got the team waiting. Everyone's on set. I just excuse myself. I'm like, oh, if you don't mind, I just need a few minutes. I go upstairs and I fall to the floor, like actually fall to the floor. I'm holding my stomach because I can't breathe. Like the cramps are that bad. And so at the moment, all I could do is text Tom. So people that may not know, our studio at the time was our studio and our house was the same place. So I text Tom and I'm like, babe, I need you. And he didn't respond. So I'm like, in my head, oh my God, he's in a meeting. And I'm like, I need you. And it's like, he's not responding. So I think to myself, okay, now's this moment. Do you need him or do you want him? Because if I say I need him in this moment, that means I'm not capable of getting up off the floor by myself.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I said, Lisa, you want him, but you don't need him. Get the F off the floor, get up, and show yourself what you're made of. Because while you love your husband, you are the hero of your own freaking life. And I literally, in that moment, I pulled myself up off the floor. I took a massive deep breath and I walked back downstairs and no one had the clue. And 2 hours later, Tom comes running. He's like, are you okay? Is everything all right? But in that moment, I was like, and it was a story. This was over 2 years ago, Heidi. And I remember it like it was yesterday, because it was that moment that I thought, thank God this happened to me. Because if it didn't, I would, as a couple, continuously go down the path of being so intertwined that you lose yourself. And I'm very aware of the danger of that. And that's coming from someone that's been married for 17 years and with someone for 19.
I love everything you just said. And actually, just to kind of, I do think that that's what happened with Chris and myself, and that's why I'm so interested in your relationship with Tom, because I think in a way you guys did have a similar evolution that Chris and I had, and how we handled it was very different. So while you started as a stay-at-home mom, and then you found your power, you knew, you found the power within, and you become this just powerhouse, this female force. Um, I was not a stay-at-home mom, but I was a behind-the-scenes support, big time, like constantly working. So, and I evolved. It's almost like we both cocooned, right? And we went through an evolution, and we became, or we like blossomed in life in a sense. And I think in something happened different from your point of staying at home to you blossoming. Then happened with me, from my behind the scenes not really believing in myself, to me believing in myself and knowing my power and blossoming. And what happened in ours, I don't know where it happened, but there was such an intertwining that I believe Chris felt like he lost himself. And I can see how that happened. And that's, people ask like, oh, who was right, who was wrong? Neither. Like, there was no right or wrong. There were, I think, in any marriage, any relationship, there's hurt on all sides, no matter what, because we're human, right? But they're just what is and what was, to the point where they're almost, we had conversations where we'd be like, gosh, maybe we need to separate just to find ourselves. and then try and come back together, because it's true synergy in life. It's not this. It's when two individual parts are uniquely strong, and then they come together, and then and that's I'm so curious, when you went from a housewife to that journey, that evolution, how were you guys able to do that without it rocking the boat of your marriage? Like, to me, I sit there and I'm like, it's not even possible. I don't know how many couples could endure that with that dynamic shift. It's a reinvention.
Yeah, it was so freaking tough. So here's exactly the steps that happened. So I was a stay-at-home wife. I actually don't have children.
That's what I meant. Sorry, I always say stay-at-home mom.
No, I don't think people realize I don't have kids.
I knew that.
Yeah, so I was a stay-at-home wife, and at the time, Tom and I were on a mission to make enough money to make movies. That was our dream. I went to film school. He went to film school. So he was like, all right, let's look at all the successful people who have enough money to be able to make their own movies, and let's look at their lifestyles. So we looked at Steve Jobs, for instance, and you look at his lifestyle. The reason why he always wore black, like a polo black sweater or a polo or a black t-shirt, is you only have a certain amount of decisions you can make in a day. So with utter clarity. So people, like super freaking high successful people, they don't waste time worrying about what the hell they're going to wear. So they wear the same thing. So we literally look and we're like, okay, cool, this makes sense. So how do we emulate that? All right, babe, you go out. And because I had been quote unquote trained to be a good stay-at-home Greek housewife, I was like, cool, you go to work, I'll stay at home. And I make all decisions apart from work related. So I literally, he would wake up in the morning, his gym clothes were on the floor waiting for him. He would get changed, he would go to the gym, he'd come home, his clothes were waiting for him. He would get ready, he would take his lunch. Like I would give him his lunch. So he made no decisions outside of work. So we thought, cool, our plan is we're going to do that for a year. Well, hey, guess what? Money isn't easy to make. So that year turned into 8 years. And over that time, he had tried different businesses. And over that time, I was that support system. So Quest comes along, he comes home and he says to me, hey, we want to start this new business, but this one's going to cost a hell of a lot more to try than the others. So if we don't succeed, we lose the house. Are you okay with that? And so I, in that moment, said, okay, who did I marry? I know I married an ambitious man. I know I married a driven man. That's what attracts me to him. So now that I'm married, why am I trying to hold that against him and hold him back and say his drive is too ambitious? Like that's not a fair partnership. So I turned around to him and I said, babe, I bet on you. It's only a freaking house. If I lose it, I lose it. But the one thing I'm not willing to do is have you lose who you are as a human, because I wouldn't want you to be like that with me. So we went into it. Cool, we're going to start this new protein bar company. We have no idea what we're doing. But because of that, and I wasn't working, it was, hey, Lisa, can you just do this? And so Tom had business partners and they were desperately trying to free themselves up to start Quest. But I was the only one that wasn't working. So they were like, oh, just if you don't mind, weigh some ingredients. So all the wives started helping. All the wives were like weighing ingredients at home, and we were renting this kitchen by the hour, and we had rolling pins and knives, and we were going in. Now, at the time, I was literally just being a supportive wife. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm just helping my husband. I'm just helping my husband. What we didn't expect is that we grew at 57,000% for 3 years in a row, which means that I literally went from shipping a protein bar, like 1 or 2 bars off my living room floor one day, to 2 years later, I have a team of 40 employees underneath me, a warehouse full of like $18 million of inventory we were shipping out, and I had 10,000 square feet. That was my department.
Wow.
Now, I had no idea what I was doing. So initially, I will bring this round to your question.
No, I love this.
So initially, I had gone from, I was just supporting my husband. And because I didn't want to lose my house, anytime there was an obstacle, I didn't give myself the luxury of saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do it. I was just like, you better freaking find out. Otherwise you're going to lose your house. So I just kept repeating it, right? You better freaking find out. And over that time, during that period, I went from, the excitement of my day was waiting for my husband to come home, to now I'm living a life where I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm faced with my inadequacies every day, which is anxiety inducing, but at the same time, it was so amazing because I could actually see what I could accomplish. Like all these things, I started to realize, wow, this is a life I like. This is the life I want. And now here I am, a woman who has promised her husband and has declared she wants 4 children.
Yeah.
To now say, babe, I don't know if I want any kids. I don't want to put your clothes out anymore. I don't want to make you food anymore. And so I was like, how do I say that to him? And the truth was, I had to say it with utter compassion and say it in a way that also makes sure that I hear him out. That it's not a declaration, this is who I am, so you're going to have to, like it or lump it. It wasn't that. So the conversation pretty much went like this. Eventually one day I sat my husband down and I said, babe, I love learning. I love what we're building. And as much as it hurts me, and I feel like I feel really guilty right now because I feel like I will lie to you. I feel like I'm going back on my word because I said this. I said I wanted to, have kids and take care of you, and now I don't. And please know that I love you. And me not cooking for you, me not putting clothes out for you has nothing to do with how I feel about you, but it doesn't make me happy anymore. So I need to talk to you about this, and I need to say that this doesn't feel right anymore, but I want to hear you out, right? Instead of making a declaration, hear them out. Now, how do you feel? So he turned around and he said, look, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want my clothes and food put out. Like, what? Who wouldn't want that? Like, it's like the best 5-star hotel on the planet. He's like, who wouldn't want that? So of course I want it. And of course it's going to be difficult for me to change. So that's going to have to take time. We're going to have to wean him off it, right? Like one day for 1 week, I just, won't put out his gym clothes. And then for the next 2 weeks, to just click my finger and say, this is who I am, so now you have to accept it, isn't fair on him.
Yeah.
So that was that other approach. And then the last thing was giving him time to mourn the wife he thought I was going to be. And I even said that to him. I was like, if you need time to really mourn that this isn't who I want to be, then I will allow, I will give you the space. Let me know how I can support you in that. Because again, we always look at it and what is our goal? Fundamentally, what is a goal in any freaking relationship? To be happy as individuals and to be happy as a partnership. So and he even said this, he's like, what kind of man would I be to tell my wife to do something that isn't going to make her happy when you've been very articulate and very clear about the fact that this isn't going to make you happy? So how selfish would it be of me to say, I don't care, I still want you to do it? So we really went through the discussion, but then we went through, what are the next steps? What do you need, babe? And so he said, I need time to adjust. Please don't just stop putting my clothes out. Please don't just stop cooking for me. Let's come up with a plan. So we came up with a plan of how we were going to wean him off that. We came up with a plan of how he was going to still have the food. Because I said, is it important that I cook for you, or is it important that you eat? And he's like, it's important that I eat. I'm like, awesome. I'll order delivery every day, right? So it's like you find ways to come through it, but to really hear each other out, but not hold back on the person you are becoming. And I'd love to hear from you how you guys navigated it, and with your transition of going from behind the scenes to in front of the scenes, was that discussed and articulated? And do you think in hindsight there are things you could have done differently?
Yeah, I mean, what you just said so much that, I'm like, I want Chris to listen to this. It's just there. It was so great how you guys did it. A couple of things come to mind. The first thing is, we were very similar in that I didn't start working because I wanted a job, right? I worked because I loved Chris so much, and I loved his passion and his dream so much. I would have cleaned the floors. I went, okay, you need me to do that. I filled in wherever, and it ended up that I was training people in Arizona so he could go around and film the show. And so it kind of naturally evolved in this thing where I was on camera and I never asked to be. I hated the idea of seeing my face or hearing my voice. It was scary. I never thought I was meant for greatness, right? I thought he was, I wasn't. I'm meant to be the supporting role in his life. So a lot of it, and because it was very unexpected to me. I never, like I said, I never had a dream like that. I think there was a certain, and I knew it was Chris's. I think there was a certain amount of guilt that I felt. It was not him, it was me carrying around an element of guilt the entire time, almost like I didn't deserve what I had been given. And I think I've always kind of lived like that. I do feel like I've been blessed with so much in life. I feel like I was blessed with the best kids, the best mom, the best dad, the best all the people in my life, and Chris, and what these opportunities. And I I never I struggled feeling worthy. And I never wanted to have Chris feel like I was dimming him by what I was doing, but I knew what I was doing, whatever it was, however I needed to fill the space, was contributing to the overall mission, right? What we
Mm.
lacked that was big, and this is on me, it's not on anybody else. And I've communicated this with Chris since. We lacked the communication that you guys had. I
Mhm.
In areas of my life that I felt like I was not being fulfilled, um, where, if I felt like I was this underhand, like supporting actress or supporting person, he never knew that there was part of me that really struggled with it. I never told him at all. Because I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I didn't want him to struggle. I didn't want him to feel bad. And so that important conversation you guys had, we never had. And it grew and brewed, and it became, just the both of us kind of, when there's no communication, it's on the surface, and actually in everyday life, he and I are we have the most amazing dynamic, and we're funny and fun and laugh. I mean, to this day, we can have the biggest blowout fight, and then we're like, haha, like we're great. We are really great together. But because for so many years we ignored what was underneath the foundation, um, communicate, it definitely got the best of us, to where I think ideas and who we were had completely evolved and changed to the point where it was best that we kind of say, okay, let's find ourselves and then see where we go from there. But what I love that you said, communication is huge, and then to be able to communicate without ego is
Mhm.
massive. Like for you to be able to open up that communication, for Tom to communicate back, for Tom not to have an ego, and then for you to respect that he needed a mourning period, I think is just so massive. And it's like you guys have, and that's what I've noticed on Instagram. You guys have always had a very great, and even when I saw you in person, just a really great understanding of each other. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, it hasn't been easy, but it all comes with agreeing ahead of time on the you call them rules of engagement. So, one of our biggest
I'm
rules
writing that
is
down.
okay. One of our biggest rules is always be honest, even when you know it's going to hurt the other person. So one thing you even said in what I was like, I wanted to shout, ring the alarms. It's like like that's when most people go wrong, they don't want to upset their partners. They don't want to hurt their feelings because they care about them. So what happens is you don't say things. And Tom and I, from the get-go, had agreed, like we made like a little pinky swear of no matter what, you need to be honest with me, even when you know it's going to hurt me. You have to be honest with me, even when you know it may make me cry. We need to be that honest with each other. And a perfect small but funny little story, if I can share it quickly with you about this, is it's a perfect example where he could have lied and I wouldn't have known the difference. So we were at Quest, we've been working just crazy hours. It was date night. We hadn't had a date in like a month. We were so excited. I bought this new top. I didn't tell him I bought it. I was going to surprise him. I'm going to look really hot. Lisa, you've got it. I come down the stairs on the evening and he looks at me and he's like, all right, let's go. I was like, oh my God, like he didn't say anything. Like normally he would notice. I was like, bless him, he's really busy. Like he's really stressed. Like I know him. I don't put pressure. I don't set him up for failure. I think that's like
Yeah,
people do that a lot, right? Will they
I love
remember my
that.
birthday? Will they remember that I said this 3 months ago? It's like set people up for success, period. If you really
Yes.
want your partner to win, period. So set them up for success. So I'm like, he's probably busy. Like, I know he'll notice later. No big deal. I won't say anything, blah, blah, blah. So I go down the stairs. We get to the restaurant. We're sitting at the bar and he still doesn't say anything. So now I've got an opportunity, right? I'm just going to be honest. Hey, babe, do you like my top? Instead of sitting there, which I would have done once upon a time, I would have sat there and I would have waited and I would have hinted and I would have been like, like, and you keep saying and you're waiting for it and it doesn't come and you get more and more annoyed.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask him. So I'm like, hey, what do you think of my top? And he looks me up and down and goes, I was freaking heartbroken. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, it's all right. So then he goes back to eating. Within 3 minutes, I went into the biggest piss poor mood. I was so mad. I was like, I can't freaking believe it. And he comes to me and he's just honest. He's like, why are you annoyed? And I was like, nothing. And he's like, are you annoyed because I said I didn't like your top? And I was like, well, not annoyed, but I tried, and he's like, babe, he's like, I need you to know, I'm never going to lie to you. And he's like, and here's why. Because right now it would have been easy for me to say to you, yeah, no, I don't really, yes, your top is beautiful, right? He's like, it would have ended the conversation. You would have felt great about yourself. We would have moved on and I wouldn't have to think about it. But in this moment, I chose to tell you the truth, which actually is harder to do. And he's like, and this is why. Because when we're 90 and you're a bag of wrinkles and you're not wearing makeup and you wake up in the morning and I turn to you and I tell you look beautiful, he's like, I need you to know I mean it. And he's like, so
You're going to make me cry.
No, right? I was like, oh man, Bilyeu, you're good at your words. But I was like, and in that moment, I was like, he's right. Like, how many times, like, even with Tom, he may say, oh, you're beautiful. I'm like, oh, in this old thing, and it's like, you kind of shrug it off. But like, when he doesn't, you're like, hang on a minute, why didn't you? So he's like, I need to be honest always. So if I say to you, when you think you look your worth, and I say you're beautiful, I've earned a reputation with you that I don't go for the easy answer. And so since that time, we're like, cool, from now on, we have to address everything on the up and up. But the problem was, for me, is the truth was I was upset because I had dressed up wanting to look sexy for him and I didn't. So I couldn't ignore that fact. So we just broke it down and said, okay, next time then, babe, if I'm looking to impress you, what's a better solution? So he was like, well, maybe you ask before we go out. And I was like, okay, that's actually a good idea. So before we step out, if I want to dress for him, I don't always dress for him. I a lot of the time dress for myself. But if I want to dress for him, I will ask him, what outfit do you want me to wear? Do you like this top? So that now when we leave, I know that I've accomplished my goal. So we've kind of come up with a solution. It wasn't just brush it aside. It was discuss the issue. How are you going to approach it in future? And then come up with a solution so you never end up there again. And so now, literally, if I want to dress for him, I'm like, babe, which top?
What do you want me to wear?
Like this? What do you want me to wear? Do you want me to look cute? Do you want me to look sexy? Do you want me to look sporty? Like, right? And then I just act in accordance. But it's those moments where you have to be so honest, even when you know it's going to hurt them. And if you know that your partner wants you to win, right? Like, it's like with your friends. If you know, Heidi, I really freaking care about you, girl. So if I hit you up and I'm like, hey, I actually didn't think that this was very good and here's some suggestions, right? If you know that I'm a good friend and I really fucking care for you, you're going to take my advice and go, I may not agree with it, but I know her intention. And you can see past the hurt of that. It may feel like it may sting you in the moment. And I just know we need to repeat that. Like, we're playing tennis, but we're on the same we're playing doubles. We're on the same side of the net. We're not on opposing teams on the opposite side.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh. Like, you, Lisa, are speaking my language. And I say that all the time with my best friends. Like, I don't want a best friend that will tell me what they think I want to hear, because that person's not my best friend. The people I want to surround myself are the ones that are going to tell me my butt does not look good in my jeans. The ones that are going to tell me when I'm not going right. If I need to spend more time with my kids, if I'm not, that's one of the things I love about Derek, like having him in my life, is he tells me when I'm stepping out, or when, hey, like, this might not align with your vision. I need that in my life, because to me, somebody that's willing to say that, or to say that top doesn't look good, is the person that wants me to honestly be my best. Where I do think with many husband and wife relationships, so you guys are a rarity. I believe that. Like, I don't think most husband and wife relationships are that way. I think most wives say, how does my butt look in these jeans? And most husbands say, amazing, whether or not they mean it. You know, it's the path of least resistance is really what it is, because it's a shorter answer, right? Instead of like with you guys, that turned into a conversation, right?
Hour long, yeah.
Yeah. And husbands are like, do I have an hour? No, but looks great, you know? But the reality is, and I think actually, if I can go back with me and Chris, that is something we weren't great. It's like I didn't want to hurt his feelings. He didn't want to hurt my feelings. And so it did come a point where I think both of us at times we'd be like, do they mean what does she mean what she's saying? Like, does she actually like what I'm doing? Or is she just saying it because she knows it'll crush me? And vice versa. Like, okay, does he really like the way that I'm doing this? Or just because there wasn't that level of honesty in a way that it could sting and we'd be okay with it, right? There was so
And
much
that's
kid gloving.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Is that people
Yeah.
see that as like combative, and so they try and steer away from it. But instead, Tom and I see this as these are the things that make us united.
I
And so
agree.
while in the moment, it's I mean, look, you're in fitness, right, Heidi? How many times have you
Yeah.
heard people say, I just want a bowl of ice cream? And you're like, sure, bowl of ice cream in the moment tastes amazing. But let me tell
Yeah.
you, in the long term, it's not going to solve your goals. So right now, if you're feeling like you need the ice cream, do you actually need it, right? Like, so don't
Yes.
necessarily just go for the easy out. And the easy
Yeah.
out is to lie to each other. But you have the best of intentions. That's the
Yes.
problem. You tell yourself in the moment, I'm doing it because I care
know.
about them. And
Yeah.
it's the best intentions. And then there was actually something else I want to add that you had said is we were talking about, do we separate and work on our own and then see?
Yes.
What Tom and I have done deliberately is we work on our own during our relationship. So for instance, if there's something within the business that is problematic, and I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't have one offhand.
Yeah.
But let's say there's something wrong with the business and Tom's saying, hey, you need to improve there, blah, blah, blah. And it's an emotional thing. So it's like, yeah, you're going to have to deal with it. And it's like,
Yeah.
he'll say, this is your
Yeah.
issue. Let me know
Yeah.
how I can support you
Yeah.
as your husband and as your business partner,
Yep.
and vice versa. I said the same to him. I'm here to support you, but this isn't working, and you have to fix this and you have to work on it. Here are some books. How can I help? But your personal growth has to be freaking personal growth. You cannot turn to your partner to do your own personal growth. It just doesn't work like that. So making sure that you're working as a team and as individuals, that when you do come together, like my thing is, I get frustrated very quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that doesn't serve an argument, right? And so Tom and I, he's like, you get frustrated easily. The second you get frustrated, we can't have the discussion. So you have to go and work on your frustration. I can't do that for you. And I'm like, he's right. I've got to go work on my own shit. Like, I've got to go figure it out. And he's going to know. And what I end up doing is, our next conversation, I'll say to him, I'm getting really frustrated. I know this is something I'm working on. Bear with me. I'm not there yet. I am working on it. So I even say it in real time. So I'm like, I recognize I'm doing it. I recognize I'm not good at it yet. And so as a partner, he just goes, thank you for telling me that. I see that you're trying. Instead of just judging each other on, are you there, yes or no?
Yeah. I love what you're saying. In fact, a lot of what you're saying reminds me of a post that I absolutely love that you did recently that I reposted, and just because it's just so good. And I have to say, you and Tom are very evolved as individuals and as a couple. You are. There's not a lot of couples that are at very, very, very few that are at your level individually and as a couple. But what I love about that is you guys shed so many incredible tips, tools, and tactics to help improve other people's lives. Like, you can go to your pages and there are millions of gold nuggets. Like, but if somebody goes and just grabs one little one, that one little one is enough to completely cause a ripple effect and change somebody's life. Like that little spark. And what you just said, I believe was number 3. You had you had your 6 principles, like to live powerfully, or I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but number which one was it? Was it number 4? Hold on.
I
Oh,
don't
it was
even
number
remember
3.
myself.
It was number 3. It looks
Oh,
like one is, oh, there it is. Number 3 is, I'll read these in order. They're so great. And I
yeah,
want you to comment on them. Um, Number 1 was always take the high road, even if they don't deserve it. It was so
yeah.
good. Always take the high
No,
road.
it's so easy to throw a low punch, especially when you've been with someone for that long. You know their weak spots.
Yeah,
You do, and
yeah.
so it's easy to do it.
Talk about going through a divorce. Yes,
Yeah,
it's hard not to throw punches. Number
yeah,
2, enjoy the process because nothing else is guaranteed. And when I look at you guys, you are enjoying the process. You're enjoying the good times, but also the hard times, and you're appreciating them for what they are.
yeah. No, I mean, even now, where people are like, "Oh my God, you guys have a great relationship." Our relationship isn't guaranteed. Like, if he
Yeah,
turned around and cheated on me tomorrow, it's done.
yeah, yeah.
Goodbye. Like, so even that, it's like nothing is guaranteed. So
Yep.
right now, I actually interviewed Gabby Reese one time, and she said something that really hit me. So she's married to Laird Hamilton,
Yeah.
and she's like, every morning I walk down the stairs, I make sure I walk up to him, and when I see him for the first time that morning, I give him a kiss because him sitting there isn't guaranteed. And I was like, oh my God. So now literally
Oh,
every time I walk past Tom, I give him a kiss.
really?
That's 99.9. I need like a little point percent to like,
A little buffer.
but like when I was in a rush to come to this
Just in case
interview,
you
I
have
was
to,
like, bye
like,
bye.
yeah, you have to
Um,
pee. You're like, sorry.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But yeah, like it's showing the appreciation that
yeah,
they're there.
yeah. I love that. Number 3, and this to me, um, was so loud in what you were just saying. Number 3 is everything is my fault. And I love that. Like that to me is gold in life. If there's anything anyone listening can take out of this, it's the perspective that you both have. Like you sat there, and Tom may have said, "Hey, you're frustrated and I can't deal with you with your frustration." For you to say, "You're right. Like I need to work on it." Like taking responsibility, making something your fault, being able to find your fault in something is sometimes the only way to change the other person. You can't change them. You can change yourself and it might cause change. But what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I know that this one can kind of cause some controversy with people because of the word fault. But the truth is, I use fault on purpose because
Yeah.
I don't like the sting of it. Like, it's
Yeah.
a useful tool. So anyone listening, if you don't like the word fault, replace it with a word that resonates with you, that's going to make you take action. That's the whole freaking point. It's like, it's not even in the word. So I know people get caught up on the word fault. I personally love it because it does sting.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
precisely why I like
I
it.
agree.
But so responsibility, whatever word it is, I think it's important to, I mean, you even said it, in those moments when I'm frustrated, what are the words I could say? You're making me, you're frustrating me,
Yeah.
right? It's your fault because you're saying this to me. If you didn't say this, well, that's all passing power.
Yes.
Forget about blame.
Yes.
It's passing power over. Because if I'm actually saying I only get frustrated when you say certain things, that means he can make me frustrated whenever he likes, and it's not in my control. Fuck that
Amen.
shit.
Amen. Amen. Yes, I love that. And to me too, it's another way of saying, like we said, it's another way of saying take responsibility. Because I know when I reposted it, I had people saying to me, I was sexually abused. How was that my fault? And the fact is, that's not your fault. But what is your control, your power, right? Because
Yeah.
fault, you can interchange that with power. It is your power is that you can change how you react, right? And you can change how you heal and you can captain your own ship. That was such a beautiful, a lot of people love, and I'm going to put the sexual abuse to the side, but a lot of people love pushing off responsibility and fault to I'm here because of them. I am
Right.
doing that because of them, which is fine if you want to avoid responsibility. But the consequence of that is when everything goes great in your life, you don't get to take responsibility for that either. Like there's a flip side of every coin. Take responsibility for the bad, and you get to take responsibility for the good. Don't take responsibility for the bad. You can't take responsibility for the good. And for me,
Hell
I want to know I'm sailing my own ship. If I sail into the rocks, it's my fault. If I sail it exactly to where I want to go, I get to take credit for it, to like the island with all the treasure. I get to
yeah.
get out of it. And that to me is worth it.
Yeah, 100%. The time that really hit me, actually, going back to my health, I think your audience also will really freaking
Yeah.
resonate, is I had massive gut issues. And for 2 years, for 1 year, I could barely eat anything. I was like maybe 20 pounds lighter than I am now. I was
Wow.
honestly, no, tongue in cheek, I was slowly dying. I was
Wow.
malnutrition because I couldn't eat. My hair was falling out. My nails were extremely brittle. So my health was really bad. And this was at the height of Quest of Success when people first started here. It was announced as a billion-dollar company, and I couldn't eat our product.
Wow.
So the stress on the mind and the body, because I didn't tell anyone, I was embarrassed, so I hid it all. But I was going to doctors. I was like paying for the most expensive doctors in Beverly Hills, thinking they would fix me. And I would go to those doctors every single time, expecting them to fix me. Now, why was I expecting them to fix me? Because I used to think it was their fault that I was sick.
Yeah.
So, because my health accumulated from very limited calories, and
Wow. Yeah.
I wasn't eating protein. Sorry, I wasn't eating fat, and I wasn't eating carbs for years and years and years. I was getting sick, and I was taking antibiotics. So I went on like 15 years of antibiotic abuse because I was getting chest infections a lot. Now, initially, I was blaming the doctors. Everyone was.
Yeah.
I can't believe the doctors gave you antibiotics. I can't believe it's all their fault. And I was like, yes, it's their fault. After 2 years of not being able to fix myself, it hit me. If I don't take ownership that I got myself into this, I can't take my ownership getting out of it. And so, how is being sick my fault? Just don't feel bad about it, but how is it my fault? All right, Lisa, did the doctors force the antibiotics down your throat? Nope. I took them willingly. When the doctor said, I probably shouldn't prescribe you this much, but here you go. Did I ever ask why he shouldn't? Did I ever research it?
Yeah.
No. So did the doctors force me to have a restricted diet? No. So all these things that I can say it's other people's fault, I took ownership. The second I took ownership, Heidi, I started getting results in healing. I was like, screw these doctors. They don't understand. I'm going to my own doctors. I was doing my own blood tests. I was getting my own hormones checked. I was going to holistic doctors. And I myself was putting it together. And now, 4 years later, I'm able to eat now. I can, eat at restaurants, obviously, without the corona around. But I can at least function like a normal human. I'm still not out of the woods. There's still a lot that I can't eat. But that's taking ownership by saying it's my fault.
Yes.
Flipped and changed my life.
It's saying it's my fault, and you can now control the outcome. Like it kicked you into taking action and learning and diving into it. I love that. The other three, I'll just brush through them. And if there's any of them you want to speak on, let me know. I love these 6 powerful principles are amazing. If I believe I can, then I can. Love that. I am the sum of the 5 people I surround myself with. And this one's so amazing. And I'm going to dive into something after this. I am my own hero.
Yeah, buddy.
That is you, Lisa, to the T. And I look at your Wonder Woman necklace that you have on, which, by the way, you should know you gave to Jen Cohen, correct?
Yes.
And then she gave one to me. Do you know that?
Oh my God, no idea. The funny thing, I had no idea. She even said actually that she's going to start to give them out. And I was like, I start like making my own Impact Theory Women of Impact branded ones.
You do, especially because I know you have this passion project that you and Tom are working on, that they're comics, right? Like, and characters that are there to impact the world. You need to make necklaces. I will be your pro bono spokesperson. I will wear them. I will speak them proudly. You just let me know.
That's awesome, girl. I love that.
Well, Lisa, there is so much. I could go into 17,000 different directions with you. I can't believe we've already had almost an hour pass. I want to make sure everybody here, everyone listening, knows where they can find you. And is there anything in particular you would want to direct them to more than anything that you have? I mean, you have Women of Impact. Where's the best place for them to find you?
Which you on, girl. Go check that out, guys. So I have a YouTube channel, Women of Impact, where I interview and talk with amazing women like Heidi, and we go deep on all these discussions: relationships, business, personal, fitness, health. I definitely think that for a woman to be her own hero, she has to look at every avenue and every area of her life, and take ownership and then work on that. It's not freaking easy. I think it starts with confidence, building that up. That I was very much lacked confidence when I was a kid. So this has been an incredible journey for me. So Women of Impact, if you want to take away any amazing tips there, and then Instagram at Lisa Bilyeu would be awesome.
Oh, well, everybody listening needs to go follow. It is very worth it. You will not regret it. Lisa, thank you so much for being on today. And thank you for just being in my life. You have no idea how much it means. You're like my soul sister. I'm never letting you out of my claws. You're in my
Hell
life
yeah.
forever, okay?
You heard that, guys. It recorded. I love it. You can't go back on it now. And I just want to add that I'm so freaking impressed and proud that you were able to take just a passion and something that you were just doing in quarantine, and now like doing your own podcast. And it's so exciting, so amazing. You've really built an amazing community that adore you, and I know that will jump on board with this. Let me know how I can support. But yeah, I'm so freaking proud of you, girl.
Thank you so much. You have no idea how much that means. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, much more to come, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here, and to everybody watching and everybody listening. I'm sure you just got a million gold nuggets. I just want to remind you, just think of or find one thing and let that one thing direct your life. I mean, so many great things. I love talking about taking responsibility. I love talking about how to make a relationship and business work through honesty, lack of ego, communication, so much great stuff. I mean, and I have to say, my favorite thing about this is just taking ownership. My favorite thing was just seeing your face.
I know, right? Just hanging out with you.